Right now you're using one of about 15 web browsers, but under the hood, almost all of them are secretly the same three. And by the end, you'll see that the browser war stopped being about speed years ago. It's now about who's allowed to watch you. Chrome. Let's start with the one you're probably watching this on. Roughly 65% of everyone on the internet uses Chrome. It is, by a mile, the default of defaults, and it earned it. Back in 2008, it showed up fast and clean, when every other browser felt like wading through mud, and then it synced your bookmarks, your passwords, your whole history across every device you own. Sign in once, and it just follows you around. Super convenient. But here's the catch: nobody puts on the box. Chrome is made by Google. The company that runs ads on half the internet also makes the browser you use to visit it. That's not a coincidence. It's also famous for inhaling RAM, which is your computer's short-term memory. Open 5 tabs, you're fine. Open 50 tabs, and Chrome stops being a browser and becomes a stress test for your laptop. And in 2025, Google finished a change called Manifest v3 that quietly kneecapped ad blockers. The beloved uBlock origin basically stopped working properly in Chrome overnight. So it's fast, it's everywhere, and it's Google's. Remember that word engine, by the way. But here's the twist. The browser that came closest to dethroning Chrome runs on Chrome's own engine. Wait, what? Edge. This is Microsoft's browser, and its whole story is a swallowed pride moment. Microsoft used to own the web, lost badly, and in 2020 basically gave up trying to beat Chrome, so they joined it. Edge is built on the exact same foundation as Chrome, Google's open source project called Chromium, running the same engine inside it, called Blink. Which means websites just work, Chrome extensions install fine, and it's fast right out of the gate. It's honestly Chrome wearing a Microsoft coat, plus some genuinely nice extras like vertical tabs and a lighter appetite for RAM. The downside? Microsoft really wants you to use it. Try setting a different browser as default, and Edge practically begs you to reconsider. Oh, and it's got Copilot, Microsoft's AI, baked into the sidebar whether you asked for it or not. So Edge is Chrome underneath, in nicer clothes. And it's not the only one doing that. So is the next browser actually different, or is everything secretly the same thing? Apple says no. Their browser runs on something else entirely. Safari. This is Apple's browser, the default on every Mac and every iPhone, which means a huge chunk of the planet uses it without ever choosing it. It runs on Apple's own engine, called WebKit, and it's tuned so tightly to Apple hardware that it sips your battery instead of gulping it. It also blocks a lot of cross-site tracking by default, so on privacy, it's genuinely decent. But here's the part almost nobody realizes. On your iPhone, every browser is secretly Safari. Download Chrome on iOS, and it's not really Chrome, it's Safari wearing a Google logo, because Apple forces every iPhone browser to use WebKit underneath. That Chrome you installed? A costume. Now, one honest update, because this changed recently. As of 2024, a European law called the DMA forced Apple to allow other engines on iPhones in the EU. But almost nobody has actually shipped one yet, and outside Europe, it's still WebKit only. One more thing so nobody's confused. This is an iPhone and iPad rule only. On a Mac, Chrome runs its own engine, and Firefox runs its own, exactly like on Windows. It's just Apple's phones and tablets that force everyone onto WebKit. So for now, on basically everyone's iPhone, Chrome is Safari in disguise. So that's two engines, Google's and Apple's. Is there anyone left who belongs to neither? Firefox. Yes, one. Firefox is the last major browser that isn't built on Google's engine or Apple's. It runs on its own, called Gecko. It's made by a non-profit. It's open source, meaning anyone can look inside the code, and privacy has always been its whole personality. There's even a stripped-down version called LibreWolf for people who want Firefox with every last bit of data collection ripped out. And now, here's the reframe that makes this whole video click. You don't actually have 15 browsers to choose from. You have 3 engines, and the engine is just the core software that turns website code into the page you actually see. There's Blink, Google's engine, which lives inside its open-source Chromium project and powers most of the list: Chrome, Edge, Opera, Brave, Vivaldi, Samsung's browser. There's WebKit, Apple's, which is Safari, and every browser on your iPhone. And there's Gecko, which is basically just Firefox and its little family. That's it. Almost every different browser is one of these three wearing a different outfit, which is exactly why Firefox matters more than its tiny share suggests. It's under 3% now, but if it dies, nearly the entire web runs on Google's engine, and one company gets to decide how the internet works. So those are the three engines the whole web runs on. Now, the most interesting browsers aren't new engines, they're new attitudes bolted onto these three, starting with the ones that fight back. Brave. Brave runs on Chromium, but its whole reason to exist is blocking. Ads, trackers, the little scripts that follow you around, Brave kills all of it automatically. No setup required. And because it's not loading all that junk, pages actually load faster. It's like a bouncer at the door who checks everyone's ID and sends the advertisers home. Fun fact, it was started by Brendan Eich, the guy who literally invented JavaScript and co-founded Firefox. When the person who helped build the modern web decides to start over for privacy, that's worth noticing. Brave also has an optional twist. You can opt in to see its own private ads and earn a cryptocurrency called BAT for it. Some people love it, some find it a bit ironic for a browser that blocks ads. Either way, it's the easiest switch off Chrome with basically zero effort. Brave hands you a whole cockpit of privacy controls. But what if you don't want a cockpit? You just want it handled for you. DuckDuckGo. Most people know the name as a search engine, but there's a whole browser too, built on one idea. No tracking, no fuss. Where Brave gives you knobs and dials, this is the opposite. It just quietly protects you with no thinking required. It's got a fire button that nukes all your browsing data in a single tap, and it strips trackers out of your emails too. It's the browser equivalent of a self-cleaning kitchen. The trade-off is you get less control and fewer power features than Brave. But for a normal person who just wants to be left alone online, it's about as easy as it gets. That's privacy for everyday browsing. But what if you need to actually disappear? Tor browser. Let's clear one thing up first. Yes, Tor can reach the dark web. No, that's not what it's for. Its real job is anonymity, and two things share the name here. Tor is the network, and the Tor browser is the app you actually use, a customized version of Firefox that runs on top of it. That network bounces your connection through a chain of volunteer-run servers around the world. So no website, advertiser, or internet provider can easily see who or where you are. Think of it like passing a note through 10 strangers. By the time it arrives, nobody can trace it back to you. The people who need this most aren't criminals. They're journalists, activists, whistleblowers, people in places where saying the wrong thing online is dangerous. The catch is that all that bouncing makes it slow, and some sites block it entirely. Tor isn't your everyday browser. It's a tool for when privacy genuinely matters. Tor is privacy cranked to the maximum. Now let's swing the other way, to browsers built not to hide you, but to pile on features. Opera. Opera has been around forever, and its thing is throwing in features before anyone else does. A free VPN, a built-in ad blocker, a battery saver, pop-out video. There's also a version called Opera GX aimed at gamers, with limiters that stop the browser from eating the RAM and processing power your game needs, wrapped in a flashy neon look. It's genuinely clever stuff. One thing worth knowing though, Opera was bought by a group of Chinese investors back in 2016. That's not automatically bad, but where your browsing data goes is a fair question to ask, so it's worth naming rather than pretending it isn't there. Opera throws features at you. The next browser threw out the entire idea of what a browser should even look like. Arc. Arc showed up in 2023 and made everyone stop and stare. Instead of tabs across the top, it put everything in a sidebar, with spaces to split work from life, and a design that felt less like a browser and more like an operating system for the web. Power users fell in love. And then, reality hit. In 2025, the company froze Arc in place, stopped adding features, and pivoted to a new AI browser called Dia, and the whole team got bought by Atlassian for over $500 million. The founders basically admitted Arc was too different, too much to relearn for too little payoff. So Arc still works today, but it's a ghost with a great story. The browser that dared to reinvent everything, then walked off stage before the final act. Arc tried to reinvent everything and nearly died for it. The next one reinvents nothing, and power users adore it for exactly that. Vivaldi. Vivaldi runs on Chromium like most of the list, but it goes the total opposite direction from the minimalists. Where Chrome hides everything, Vivaldi lets you customize absolutely everything. Tab stacking, built-in notes, split screens, controls on controls. It is gloriously, almost overwhelmingly tweakable. For most people, it's way too much. But for the tinkerers who want their browser set up just so, it's the dream. Vivaldi is the browser you pick on purpose. The next one is the browser a billion people use without ever picking it at all. Samsung Internet. If you've got a Samsung phone, there's a good chance you've been using this and never noticed. Samsung Internet is the default browser on Galaxy devices. It runs on Chromium, and it quietly holds a few % of the entire mobile market. It adds nice touches like a built-in ad blocker and a dark mode, but most people never think of it as a choice. It's just the internet button on their phone. It's the quiet, dependable kid in class who never raises their hand, but always gets the work done. And being the invisible default, that's exactly how this whole story started, with a browser you've probably forgotten even exists. Internet Explorer. Once upon a time, this was the internet. Internet Explorer came free with Windows and hit around 95% market share, so dominant that the US government sued Microsoft for it. But when you own everything, you get lazy. Microsoft stopped improving it, the web moved on, and IE slowly turned into a punchline, the browser you only opened to download a better browser. Microsoft finally pulled the plug on June 15, 2022. Try to open Internet Explorer today, and it just launches Edge instead. And that's the real lesson of this whole list. Every browser here exists because the one before it got comfortable and someone else got frustrated. Dominance today is not safety tomorrow. The cheat sheet. Okay, screenshot time. Under the hood, there are only 3 engines. Blink is Google's. It lives in the Chromium project and powers most of the list. Chrome, Edge, Opera, Brave, Vivaldi, Samsung Internet. WebKit is Apple's, and it's Safari plus every browser on your iPhone. And Gecko is Firefox and its family, the last independent holdout. That's the whole map. Now pick by what you actually care about. Want pure convenience and don't mind Google having your data? Chrome, or Edge if you're on Windows. Want privacy without any effort? Brave to switch off Chrome instantly, or DuckDuckGo if you want it even simpler. Need real anonymity? Tor, and nothing else. On a Mac or iPhone and want the best battery? Just use Safari. And if you care about the web staying free from any single company, Firefox is the one that keeps that alive. Because here's the thing this whole video was really about. They all run on the same few engines now, so they're all fast. Speed stopped being the question years ago. The real question is who you're handing your browsing to. Google, Microsoft, Apple, or the handful of browsers built specifically not to watch you. You're not choosing a browser, you're choosing who gets to look over your shoulder. For just about anyone, that's everything you need to actually pick a browser on purpose instead of just using whatever came pre-installed. If this cleared things up, a like really helps the channel. Subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments, which browser are you using right now, and is there one you secretly miss? See you in the next one.